and welcome back to your next free project with Ecstasy Crafts and Katarina Miak. Today we'll be highlighting these beautiful scene stamps by Nellie's and the wonderful stamping tool, Stamping Buddy Pro. This will make your stamping experiences way more fun. As you can see, it's just a stamping platform that comes with a pad and two magnets to hold your papers in place. I will be demonstrating how to use this shortly. So today we will be making a beautiful happy birthday card using this scene of the water's edge. And I'm going to position this into my Stamping Buddy Pro and align the paper right in the corner so that each time it will stamp in exactly the same spot, as you will see. When you're using large stamps, it's kind of difficult to get the whole image in your first stamp, but using the Stamping Buddy Pro, you can always stamp in the same spot over and over again to ensure that you have your full image stamped. I'm just going to ink my stamp up here. And I'm going to stamp onto the clear paper. And as you'll be able to see here, the whole image doesn't stamp quite as dark as I'd like it to. And because I'm using the Stamping Buddy Pro, I'm able to re-ink my stamp, give it a good covering, and then again close the door and stamp the image, and it'll stamp in exactly the same spot every time. So if you have to do it 2 or 3 times, you can, and you'll finally get that complete image that you're looking for. Beautiful. So now I'm just going to color in my image. Today I decided to use the Aladine inks, and I'm going to use a blending mat, put a little bit of ink on there, and then add some water to paint my image. I chose just a few colors to make this a pretty simple and easy project to do. See, you can barely see the ink on the paper. There we go. Now you can see the ink on the paper, and add just a little bit of water, and I'm going to use my watercolor brush to go ahead and start painting that in. I'm just going to mix in the color with the water and thin it out to as thin as I'd like. I would like this to be very light on my card, so I add just a little bit more water and go ahead and start painting your image. Now you can use any medium to paint. You can use watercolor or acrylic or your memento markers or your Tombow markers, whatever you have at home that's on hand. I'm just using the Aladine inks because I really enjoy them and I love the colors that they come in. So here you can see I'm just going around, very rough. You don't have to be too specific when you're doing this. If you would like to be, you absolutely can, but I'm just going to color this very lightly and cover the entire image with a little bit of color here and there. And remember, again, you can use whatever medium you have at home. I just like to use the inks with a little bit of water, and it's sufficient for what I'm looking for in this card. Sometimes I like to use watercolor. So here I'm just going to, as I continue painting up in the corner, I just want to demonstrate that sometimes when you're using a large background stamp, it's very difficult to stamp the whole image, but using this Stamping Buddy Pro, I can ink this image up as many times as I need to get the entire image to transfer. So here you can see I'm taking my Memento Black Tuxedo ink and inking up the image. I'm going to close the door and I'm going to press down firmly on the whole image. But as you can see, some of the spots didn't get, so I'll go back and re-ink it, and then once again I'll press down. You want to give it a nice firm pressing just to try to see, and again, not the entire image transferred, but with the Stamping Buddy Pro you can ink as many times as you like to get your image. And then just imagine you can also do this in several different colors, a rainbow effect if you'd like. And here I even lift the paper up from the stamping platform, and I see that I still missed a few spots. So because you're using this platform, you can lay the paper down and be rest assured that your image will stamp in exactly the same spot every time. And once again, with background images, it's very difficult to get a very smooth image. So With this Stamping Buddy Pro, it really makes it helpful. I'm just going to clean off my stamp. That's sufficient enough for what I'm using it for. And now we'll just go back to me painting the beautiful Nellie's scene stamps. Just adding a little bit of color here and there to highlight all the little water ripples. Don't be afraid to try different mediums here. I used a little bit of green to do the trees and different colors combined to do the ground and the dirt and the grasses and things like that. So have fun with it and play around. These beautiful scenes come in a few different scenes, I suppose, and you can take a look at them on our website. We have some beautiful winter scenes that would make some great simple Christmas holiday cards. And this is going to be just a beautiful card for my father, and his birthday is coming up, so I think he's just going to love this one. And then I just dab a little more ink on my palette there, put a little bit more water, and I'll blend these together to make the dirt in the image here on the shoreline. And you can see it's just coming together nice and quickly. I'm just adding a little bit of color here and there. Now for some extra little detail, I chose to use my Memento markers, and I'm going to color in a little bit just to give it a little bit more green, a little bit more highlight here and there, using the fine tip point of the marker. I'm just going to add little wisps of green here and there. You can also paint with your Memento markers just by also rubbing them on your mixed media sheet and then adding a little bit of water. You can paint directly on your sheet with your markers as well, with your Copic markers if you have any. Adding a little bit of highlights here and there to give the card a little bit more dimension, and coloring in the trees. Now I decided here that the trees were not green enough for me, so I'm going back and adding some more green. And the great thing about this is that you can add as many layers as you like. I did stamp this particular image on watercolor paper so that it wouldn't warp on me and things like that. So feel free to use different kinds of paper to do your projects, depending on what you're going to use to paint this. I find that watercolor is very resistant, so you can add different layers and keep going back and just have fun with it. And these simple scene stamps really make card making easy. They do all the hard work for you. You just need to color it in and make it look beautiful. So now I decided that on my card I wanted to add a sentiment, so I put my image back into my Stamping Buddy Pro, and I'm going to line up the happy birthday where I want it on the card. And because I'm using the Stamping Buddy Pro, I'm able to stamp as many times as it takes to get my sentiment stamped nice and clear, just the way I like it. So here I'm just inking up my stamp. I'm going to close the door and give it a nice firm press down there. And I wanted it a little bit darker, so I'm going to ink it again, and I'm going to close the door and stamp it in exactly the same spot. Look at that. Perfect. Now that my card's almost finished, I'm going to trim the edges, give it some layers. I'm going to give it some layers and give it a little bit of dimension. I'm just going to trim it right up to the stamp's edge. Then I'm just going to cut some cardstock just about 1/4 of an inch larger than this stamped image and then mount it on a card that's about a 1/4 inch larger than my frame. So once your card is all said and done, here is your beautiful stamped card. Thanks for watching and have a great day.